What is the difference between someone who is remembered and someone who is forgotten? It comes down to basically one thing. Let me tell you, it's a lot more simple than you'd expect. What makes someone memorable isn't, their well-roundedness or anything like that. It's just one thing you find interesting. So in order to be memorable, you just need to max out one stat. Whatever that is. For me, I'm maxing out my stat of charisma, and I don't even have to max it out too much because no one has it. Fucking hell. I just walked up to a guy, said, "Hey, what's up, man?" Had a nice good chat with him, right? And then he was like, "Bro, give me your goddamn number, bro. I want that." Literally. And I gave him my number. And then also there are other memorable people out there. The thing that makes them memorable is either their expressiveness, the way they express themselves, or a character trait of theirs. Like this guy I met today, he dresses well. That makes him memorable. I don't really like saying people's names on videos. I'm not going to say his name, but he was memorable because of that. What I have realized, however, is there's a difference between remembering someone because of what they look like or their initial impression, and remembering them based on the conversation you had or your interactions with that person. Basically, your interactions with someone goes a lot further if you're memorable, if you're interesting in a certain dimension. If you're memorable in a certain dimension, your conversations with someone go a lot further in you being remembered. This morning I thought it was just saying your name. That's what makes me remember your name, if you say it correctly. But no, what makes you remember someone is, number one, their self-assuredness, their self-confidence in themselves, like in who they are, they have a good self-identity. Number two, they're confident in who they are and what they do in a certain aspect, or like they just like stand out in some way, okay? And yeah, those two things really, really go a long way. But third, if you really want to stand out, is your interactions with that person, your interactions with somebody. That makes you even like doubly remembered. And there you go. That's all there is to it. Number one is being self-assured and self-confident in who you are, your identity, and your expression. Number two is expressing something in an interesting way, just one thing, like maximize one thing about yourself, and that will then help you out there. And number three is just interacting with them again and again. Now you can work on any or all of these different points, but whichever you do, you're going to be remembered more for it. Being self-assured and self-confident in who you are and yourself, that is only really going to help you in the sense that it like allows your other aspects to shine through. It's like opening a tap, opening a faucet, right? You actually get to express yourself a lot more. You actually get to be more of yourself. You actually are seen more when you express. If you're not self-assured and self-confident, you're not authentic like that, you won't be able to express yourself in a very good way at all. You won't be able to express yourself to your fullest potential. And so that's just the baseline. Like, you need that for both of these things. But depending on your goals, having an interesting character trait about you, like that others can see. Maybe you are DAC, meaning you are buff, you're fit, and that's your maxed out stat. People are going to notice. And that would be something that everyone notices. Everyone notices. If you're a very social guy, everyone sees you. You stand out, right? That's the aspect of you that's memorable. And it's memorable onto a larger scale. Okay? Let's say you're very quiet, but you have a good presence. Or maybe you're very quiet, but you dress well. That's okay. As long as you're being authentic and you have a presence in the room, people will remember you for what you dress like, for your presence. I've seen this countless times through the people who I actually remember the names of, even before I've had a proper conversation with them. They just stood out because they had self-confidence and self-assurance in who they were, right? And then They had a little thing about them that was different, that was like extra. Okay, and that put them on a higher end of the spectrum of who you want to be friends with, who you'd like to get to know. That's that simple. So if your goal is being popular, go for that, or just being known, go for that. Now, on the other end, it's your interactions with someone, how you work with that. If your goal is reputation, if your goal is to have a close connection with people, it's all about how you speak to them, how you interact with them, what you do with them, okay? Or if your goal is to be a certain type of person, like a leader, you need to interact with people in the right way. And that will make you memorable. Another way you could look at this is when you have a certain characteristic trait about you with your self-confidence and self-assurance, you stand out on the first impression, right? When you actually can back up that impression with your interactions, you stand out with the interactions. So often you can find a guy who looks like crap, but he's really good at his interactions. He has self-assurance in himself, and when he speaks to you, you kind of change your mind about him. And you don't really like being that guy, but a lot of people are that guy because they don't they don't bring much in terms of self-impression, like first impressions. So that's what they do. And guess what? It works as well in smaller groups, of course, where you're like forced to sit with the guy, or you just like speak to him every day. That was my approach for a long time. Instead of actually going out and making friends, I would stand next to a group of people who I liked, who I thought would not reject me, and I just added a little bit of input again and again and again, and through the interaction I became friends with the people. And it worked, because initially I looked like an awkward, sad guy. When I'm there and I'm interacting, I'm laughing with them, it changes, and they remember me because I'm just there so often. This point is a lot more complicated than just first impressions, and it means figuring out who you want to be, who you want to put yourself across as. Actually, no, it's just who are you? How do you interact with the world? It's not about who you want to put yourself across as, it's just what do you stand for? That's it. That's what your interactions will show. Obviously, you would like to work on all three of these. The self-assurance, self-confidence, and the first impressions being like an interesting character trait about you that like gets you in the conversation, as well as who you are, what you stand for, actually being how you interact with the person and how that makes you memorable and stand out from everyone else. Caveat here: if you are memorable on the like on the interesting looking side, like you look good from afar, first impression, but you are not very good at communicating, you are not going to be remembered very strongly in people's minds. You're just going to be like that guy with big muscles. They're going to forget your name. And at the end of the day, you want people to remember your name if you have a conversation with them. So at least be interesting. Anyway, that's about it. And remember, you're responsible for everything that happens to you. Not your fault, but you're responsible.